Welcome to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. Over the next half an hour, we'll be looking beyond the business headlines by giving you in-depth perspective on the stories that are affecting all of us. Coming up on today's show, this year's Africa Energy Forum took place in London this week, uniting governments, utilities and regulators with development finance institutions, commercial banks and power developers. During the event, Channel's Business Global was granted an interview with Her Majesty's newly appointed Trade Commissioner for Africa, Alistair Long. Amongst many things, he discussed his plans to bolster trade between Britain and the continent. We will bring that full interview to you shortly. And the Intra-Africa Trade Fair is taking place in Durban, with this year's theme focusing on the recently launched African Continental Free Trade Area. Yared Tesfaye, the head of Media and Communication Affairs at the Embassy of the State of Eritrea to the UK and Ireland, is on the ground and will be joining us to provide some insight on what's happening. Then later, the director of the Global Grad Show, Tadu Baldani Karavieri, will be joining me from Dubai to provide insight into the world's most diverse gathering of graduate ideas for social impact. But first, as always, let's start the show with business news from here in the UK. According to the Office for National Statistics, the UK's consumer price index rose to 4.2% in October from 3.1% in the previous month, much higher than the 3.9% the market was expecting and more than double the central bank's target. The rate is the highest increase in almost a decade and is mainly due to higher fuel and energy prices. The data has strengthened expectations that the Bank of England will begin tapering back economic stimulus as early as next month. Well, in other British business news, earlier this week, almost 40,000 people tested positive for COVID-19, 12.5% higher than the previous week. Though deaths and hospitalisations have remained relatively low across the country, some experts suggest that the UK could return to lockdown measures over Christmas if the positive cases continue along this trajectory. A number of European countries are tightening restrictions to deal with fresh waves of the virus, and it's not yet clear if Europe's COVID storm will affect the UK. The Prime Minister insisted he could see nothing in the data that suggested the government would have to impose Plan B extra measures or even a new lockdown during a Downing Street press conference held on Monday, though he has U-turned on this positive sentiment on several occasions in the past.
In recent days, there have been rising cases here in the UK, so we must remain vigilant, because there is one lesson we can draw from the current situation in Europe. Those countries with lower vaccination rates have tended to see bigger surges in infection and in turn been forced to respond with harsher measures, while those countries with higher vaccination rates have so far fared better. And this shows us once again that if we want to control the epidemic here in the UK, and if we want to avoid new restrictions on our daily lives, we must all get vaccinated as soon as we are eligible.
This year's Africa Energy Forum took place in London over 3 days, uniting governments, utilities and regulators with development financed institutions, commercial banks and power developers. Now in its 23rd year, the 3-day event has earned a reputation as the most meaningful gathering of decision makers in African energy in identifying opportunities to move the industry forward. On the sidelines of the occasion, I spoke with Her Majesty's newly appointed Trade Commissioner for Africa, Alistair Long, about his plans to bolster trade between Britain and the continent.
What I really want to hear at this event is how we're going to build on COP and turn it into practice. For Africa, the questions are enormous coming out of COP. As a continent that has contributed so little to the problem, but stands to face the impacts of climate change disproportionately, what we really want to do is think about how can we help both with adaptation and mitigation of those impacts, but also ensure that Africa is a leader in the future low carbon world that we're trying to create and doesn't get locked in systems of the past. And I think Africa has got an incredible story already to tell, which sometimes isn't heard, about the level of renewables usage already. Loads of African nations have a higher use of renewables in their energy mix than the UK does, for example. Now, of course, there are many hundreds of millions of Africans that need to be brought into power to access electricity. And that's a really big question for Africa as well, of how are you going to do that and hopefully make that clean transition at the same time. And I think our message will be, we need to try and tackle energy access and we need to tackle transition in tandem, and see renewables as a very viable option for tackling energy access, actually, especially when you're talking about reaching communities in very remote parts of the continent. I think that's probably what the public have seen is a lot of people on platforms talking on microphones, but actually, having just come from Africa, that's not what I see on the ground. I see quite a rapid transition to embrace renewables, and that's in part because of this need to change, to transition. But actually, I think the greater part of it is that renewables are now viable, affordable, and Africa still has that pressing energy access need, and renewables are starting to form an obvious solution in certain contexts for that. And so across the continent, you're seeing renewables embraced. And so I see practical change happening. And what we really want to do is support that by making sure that companies are aware of the needs and bringing the very best solutions and technologies to bear to help Africa. I think what the UK really wants to do in Africa is, as our Prime Minister said at the UK Africa Investment Summit nearly 2 years ago, is be Africa's partner of choice. And what we mean by that is I think, a genuine partner, so a partner that responds and listens. And so what we really want to understand is what Africa needs and the sectors where Africa wants to grow and develop, and then to see how we, the UK, can bring the very best solutions in response. And at the moment, a good deal of that is actually in the areas where there are gaps and in the areas where there is important change happening. And so energy is one of those, where there is, of course, a huge gap in energy access for hundreds of millions of Africans, actually. But there's also that all-important change happening. Infrastructure, still huge infrastructural needs across the continent, and so we're very focused there on trying to help with sustainable infrastructure solutions. Technology, we've seen the power of technology in Africa and how just having a mobile in your hand provides you with immediate financial, social inclusion, and so trying to build on that. The UK's had a proud record of that on the continent. So Vodacom, a subsidiary of Vodafone, of course, came up with the M-Pesa platform in East Africa. So it's those sorts of innovations that are having considerable benefit, and also in that space, I think worth the mention of fintech, where there are many more applications, I think, that are going to transform African lives just from the power of something in the palm of your hand. I went to Lagos just before the pandemic and felt the energy, the buzz, saw just how vibrant the place is with ideas, with creativity, and just recently we've had a big focus in Lagos on some of that creativity. Actually, we've been supporting some fashion and other projects, and we're really excited as well about the tech scene in Nigeria, in Lagos in particular, and the rapid growth of that, and what we could potentially do partnering with that with the UK. And we have a UK Nigeria tech hub, actually, which aims to do precisely that. So I want to get back to Nigeria, definitely. I was there last time for 2 or 3 days. I'd love to go for a bit longer and try and get into some of the provinces as well, because I think one of the things we think would be really beneficial to the UK-Nigeria relationship is to have state-level relationships as well, and to be working with the states. But the country is just offering so many different opportunities to the relationship, and we want to try and support in every way that we can.
Let's change gear now and head to the Intra-African Trade Fair, which is taking place in Durban, South Africa. This year's theme focuses on the recently launched African Continental Free Trade Area, which covers a market of 1.2 billion people and a gross domestic product value of $2.5 trillion. The IATF is considered a key event in boosting trade across the continent, which has been drastically affected due to closing of borders as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Yared Tesfaye, the head of Media and Communication Affairs at the Embassy of the State of Eritrea to the UK and Ireland, is on the ground and joins me now. Yared Tesfaye, thank you so much for joining me on Channel's Business Global. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule at the Intra-Africa trade fair. I've seen some of your glossy pictures on social media. It seems to be a success. Lots of big names have attended, including Nigeria's President, Muhammadu Buhari. Can you just give us an overview of what the past couple of days have been like?
Sure, absolutely. Juliana, thank you. Greetings from Durban, from South Africa. The IATF has been started on Monday to 15. We are here for the second time. It's a very important from the African perspective, the IATF 2021. Yes, as you can see me, I'm dressed in Nigerian national dress thanks to High Commissioner. Special gift from our High Commissioner from Nigeria in London. Well, we are in hall number 2. There are extremely representatives from 44 countries here at the IATF. And of course, we had on Monday during the opening ceremony, more than 11 head of states from Africa. President Buhari is one of them. And the opening ceremony keynote speaker was the president from South Africa. As you can see, Intra-Africa is very important. So it was highlighted about the Intra-Africa, the infrastructures. It needs to be inter-African. As you can see, the aviations, the connection between the African countries is very important. So I think we understand that Africa is taking is coming to the platforms as we have discussions previously. And I think the continent is going to play a big role in the global economy platforms. And Eritrea, we are very much, we are here for the second time. Eritrea is very much representative by Zara, Deutsche Vita, Bisha Mining, Danakali. Major investments going on in Eritrea on the potash side. They're going to start in a very few months. It's a major productions, potash, one of the best potash in the world. Then we have the Asmara beer. Asmara beer brewery is built, Juliana, in 1938. The Eritrean Investments Promotion Agency is also promoting the tourism sector of Eritrea with 320 untouched islands. So it's good. We are next to Zimbabwe, next to Nigeria on hall number 2 on the IATF. It's going to be, we're going to be here until the 21st of November. So it's great to be here.
Thank you, Yared. Thank you for that overview there. Lots of anticipation, of course, followed the implementation of the Africa Free Trade Continental Area. Not much has happened. Are you sensing at the Intra-Africa Trade Fair that deals are being done? Is it just that people have got stands and world leaders speaking what they usually speak? I don't want to use a Greta Thunberg term, blah, blah, blah. Or are deals actually being done? Are people now making lots of this showcase a reality?
Well, absolutely. You know, as representative of Eritrea, we don't talk. We are very much into actions. And I'm glad that Africa is picking up. And, major countries like Nigeria, South Africa, they are taking this kind of actions. And we are really here. I can see the side events, the meetings, the one-to-one, government to government, government to business, the B to, the B2B and B to the G. So it's, I think, with all the human resources that we have, we can see a lot of African expertise, African from diaspora. So I think it's also people are really understanding to take action, and we are seeing results. So it's not only talk, but Africa is waking up. And this is very important because this is what we need. So from the perspective of the Horn of Africa, from the East African, we are seeing also very good representative. So it is like, 44 countries. I think we're talking the same language.
Before I let you go, Yared, very, very briefly, can you give us some of the highlights of this week thus far before I let you go?
Well, as you can see, we are just meeting into the all, there are serious meetings going on side by side, one-to-one. As I mentioned earlier, we have 11 head of states here, ministers, effectively. There are a series of meetings and press statements are coming out soon. And there is a huge media coverage, representations. So I cannot say much at the moment because it's ongoing. We are going to be here until 21st. But let's wait. Let's see.
Let's wait and see. And we have somebody on the ground, not only at Channels TV there, of course, but we also have you to come and speak to us on Channels Business Global. Yared Tesfaye, the head of media and communications at the embassy at the state of Eritrea to the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Thank you. Coming up on Channels Business Global, I'll be speaking with the director of the Global Grad Show, Tadu Baldani Karavieri, who'll be joining me from Dubai to provide insight into the world's most diverse gathering of graduate ideas for social impact. See you after the break. Welcome back to Channels Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. In a few minutes, I'll be speaking with Tadu Baldani Karavieri, the director of the Global Grad Show. But before then, here's some company news for you. Royal Dutch Shell plans to ditch its dual share structure and move its tax residence from the Netherlands to the UK. Shell has been registered in the Netherlands for tax purposes since 2005. The company will still be listed in Amsterdam, London and New York, but its structure will be simplified to a single class of shares. The oil group says the move will strengthen its competitiveness. The plans also reveal the oil titan will drop the words Royal Dutch from its name. Following the announcement, shares in London added 1.7% at early trade. US President Joe Biden has signed into law an historic $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill at a White House ceremony that was only just passed through a deeply divided US Congress. The legislation provides tens of billions for revitalizing rail and public transportation, highways and freeways, and water resources. Some analysts suggest Biden is hoping the bill will help to rebuild his popularity, which has taken a hit amid rising inflation and continuing challenges to America from COVID-19. Electric vehicle maker Lucid Group now has a market capitalization of over $91 billion, which means it's more valuable than Ford Motors and General Motors. A surge in its New York shares came after a company statement said the group remained confident in its ability to produce 20,000 vehicles in 2022. Electric vehicle stocks have been rallying of late amid strong investor interest in the sector. Now to our next topic. The world's most diverse gathering of graduate ideas for social impact are being showcased in a virtual, interactive, year-long exhibition highlighting the collective concerns of the next generation. Now in its 7th year, the Global Grad Show, an initiative by the Art Dubai Group, has unveiled 150 diverse designs from over 7,000 applications. Given the global focus on reducing the temperature of our warming planet, it comes as no surprise that this year's submissions revealed a major focus on transforming waste materials into new products. Well, for more on this, I'm now being joined by the director of the Global Grad Show, Tadu Baldani Karavieri. He joins me from Dubai. Tadu, thanks so much for joining me on the show. Am I right to presume that the pandemic has significantly increased the importance of the Global Grad Show?
Yes, and I think that what has changed is also the perception of the power of academic innovation. Global Grad Show is a reflection of the amount of good quality applications that are produced inside universities at global scale, and we reflect that through the growth of the program. I think more people became aware of the importance of innovation produced inside universities with the growth of Global Grad Show.
Why did organisers decide to launch the Mena initiative?
Mena Grad Show was launched 2 years ago to enhance the dialogue between regions. Part of Global Grad Show mission is to establish connections between different geographies and countries, and Mena Grad Show does exactly that. It spotlights innovations from the Middle East and North Africa and builds a bridge between different geographies and continents.
I know that hundreds, in fact, I believe hundreds of universities, but thousands of graduates from across the world have entered into the project. But 80% of the participants from the UAE were female. Is this diversity important?
Extremely important. I think we see the gender balance across Global Grad Show internationally and regionally. So internationally, we normally have 55 to 60% of female participation. And Mena, specifically, we had this 80% number, which I think tells us the amount of female talent we have inside the creative studies, which is what the Mena Grad Show focuses on.
Okay, tell us about the graduate program, the Entrepreneurship Program.
The Entrepreneurship Program helps the students who want to take their ideas forward and hopefully to the final users and customers. It is a structured 4 months long program that helps people to migrate from an academic thesis to a PowerPoint presentation and hopefully get investments and take their innovations to market. So it is to equip the students with business thinking tools so they can raise funds, hopefully within the program because we have our funding partners, and to take their innovations to market at the end.
I know this is probably a difficult question, but I can't have you on the show without asking about some of the standout designs from this year. I did a little bit of research. I heard that there's like a mobile malaria detection, smart hospital gowns, just some absolutely ground-breaking, thought-provoking ideas. What were some of your top picks from this year?
I think the combination of ideas, sometimes they're quite enlightening. So, for example, looking at ocean pollution, we had innovations from the University of Karachi in Pakistan, looking at how to rescue and remove fishing nets that are one of the top pollutants of the oceans globally. And also that complemented by innovation by students in Turkey who are developing a new filter for washing machines at home. So combined, this could solve up to 60% of plastic pollution in the ocean. We had from the Royal College of Art in London, a anti-greenwashing browser. So you would be online and buying online, and the content that is from companies that are greenwashing, their content would be blocked. Technologies that help in case of emergencies. So at the Zhejiang University in China, we had innovations to locate people and life under debris, which is something very topical. And as you said, a lot of mobile-enabled technologies coming from universities in Africa. We had very inspiring ideas from universities in Uganda using mobile-enabled technology to help with malnutrition detection and also vaccination.
And Tad, do you find that from region to region, specifically continent to continent, that the designs are different and more kind of nuanced or skewed to some of the issues that these graduates are facing locally?
100%, and I think what is important about that is the complementarity. I think when we see that these problems are so complex and they cannot be solved by themselves, we realize the importance of the collaboration and the work of platforms like Global Grad Show, where you can see how someone in Canada, someone in Oman, and someone in Nigeria should be working together to solve complex issues. And I think being present in a specific country, as you said, brings nuances about your problems locally, but to solve things like healthcare, disease eradication, education, pollution, we need a combined effort.
Absolutely. Given kind of the disruption that's taken place over the past 18 months, I've been saying 18 months, but it's more than 18 months. It's almost 2 years now that we've been dealing with COVID-19. Of course, the Global Grad Show has a significant importance. What are some of the plans for next year? You have the MENA initiative. You've mentioned Nigeria, which is great for our viewers. Are there any plans to expand even further? Have you taken on some of the ideas that you've seen this year to make it even grander and bigger and more inclusive?
Yes, so the mandate of Global Grad Show is to be an all-inclusive platform. So we are welcoming and we encourage people from all geographies and countries to apply. A big part of our efforts is to make sure that the Global South is equally and fairly represented, and that has been the trajectory of the program since the beginning. We are very proud to be able to feature over 200 universities from the Global South, along top universities from the Global North, and that is what enriches the experience for everyone. For students in Africa, in South America, in South Asia, my recommendation is, of course, to stay tuned to what we do and to absolutely apply to next year's program and join us.
Absolutely. Well, it's such a groundbreaking show. And thank you, because I know you've been very, very busy over the past couple of weeks. Tadu Beldani Caravieri, the director of the Global Grad Show. Thank you so much for joining me on Channel's Business Global. Thank you, Tad. Well, sadly, that's all we have time for today, but do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channel's Business Global. Goodbye.